By focusing on major events and notable people, our history textbooks provide us a bird's-eye view of human history. But there are many fascinating, lesser-known aspects of the past that rarely make it into mainstream education. 10 such historical facts are uncovered in this video, transporting viewers to a world of strange occurrences, pleasant discoveries, and important but neglected insights. We will explore different time periods and geographical locations, learning about things that regular schools might not teach, and making sure that everyone can enjoy our historical adventure. Number 1. Little Ice Age's impact on European history. From 1300 to 1850 AD, Europe was impacted greatly by the Little Ice Age, which is frequently eclipsed by political unrest and cultural upheavals. Temperatures fell sharply in the northern hemisphere on average. Because conventional crops failed, there was a major increase in the cultivation of rye and barley, which in turn triggered a shift in agricultural practices. Food shortages caused by a lack of wheat and other warm-weather grains disrupted societal order. Art and literature of the time mirrored the icy terrain and the fight for existence, which was a direct result of the decreasing temperature. In sharp contrast to the verdant landscapes seen in earlier works, several paintings from this era feature winter themes. The famed Frost Fairs, which took place on the frozen Thames River, were also a result of the rivers freezing over on several occasions. Remarkably, the Vikings' agricultural way of life became unsustainable due to the hard climate during the Little Ice Age, which contributed to their reduced presence in Greenland. Number 2. Washington's troublesome teeth. Even though he suffered from severe tooth decay for many years, the first president of the United States, George Washington, is often shown as having an unflappable expression. Washington did not actually have wooden teeth, despite widespread perception to the contrary. Material for his dentures ranged from gold and lead to ivory, and even human and animal teeth. Washington had been dealing with dental problems since his 20s. When he took the oath of office as president, he had just one healthy tooth left. Discomfort and changes to his facial structure resulted from his dental issues. His extremely brief speeches might have been impacted by the discomfort, according to belief. Even today, no president has ever given a shorter inaugural address than him. Personal life and political reputation were both impacted by his dental problems. His reputation for coldness stemmed from his tendency to keep to himself in social situations. These Washington-related anecdotes serve as a reminder that even famous people struggle with the little but important matters of health. Number 3. The Great Emu War of Australia. A strange conflict, the Great Emu War, happened in Australia in the 1930s, which could surprise you if you believe that only people fight wars. Equus were an unanticipated obstacle that exacerbated Australia's agricultural predicament following World War I. Every breeding season, these massive, flightless birds made their way north, where they caused extensive agricultural damage by feasting on the newly farmed land of farmers in Western Australia. The farmers, many of whom had served in the military in the past, begged the Australian government to intervene as the situation worsened. A small military contingent equipped with machine guns was dispatched by the government to try and reduce the number of emu. Nevertheless, the emus presented a formidable opponent due to their speed and resilience. The operation was cancelled due to public outcry over the birds' treatment and the military's failure to achieve success. The government finally settled on a bounty system as the most effective means of controlling the emu population. The unexpected difficulties of agricultural management and human-animal conflict are highlighted by this peculiar event in Australia's history. Number 4. The Dancing Plague of 1518. Strasbourg, which is now in France, was hit hard by the mysterious dancing plague in July 1518. One woman, Frau Trophia, started it all when she started dancing passionately in the streets. Within a month, up to 400 people were swept up in this incessant need to dance, as if her infectious jig had some other effect. People affected by this dancing craze would pass out from weariness and in the worst cases die, and it would go on for days. At the time, theories varied from divine retribution to blood that had been cooked too much. Some modern hypotheses propose that ergotism, a sickness brought on by eating rye infested with specific fungi, or mass hysteria, could be to blame. Even though no one knows for sure what caused it, the Dancing Plague of 1518 is an interesting and strange case study of human psychology and societal events. The importance of biological, environmental, and socio-political context in molding historical events and human behavior is emphasized. Number 5. The not-so-glamorous life of pirates. Many depictions of pirates in popular culture see them as daring, renegade heroes who seek loot on the high seas. Sadly, it wasn't how things turned out. Pirates did indeed live in rebellion against the grain of society, but they usually had it rough and didn't last long. There was little availability of clean water and food while at sea on a pirate ship, making the experience unpleasant and risky. Scurvy and other vitamin C deficiency diseases were common. Battles, storms, and shipwrecks posed an ongoing threat of death to pirates. Members of the pirate crew would vote for new captains and quartermasters in an electoral system reminiscent of ancient Greek democracy. There was a complete lack of hierarchy on board navy and commercial ships, in sharp contrast to this. The fact that pirate ships also offered insurance coverage that compensated victims of injuries is quite interesting. A life of brutal death or criminal servitude awaited most pirates, contrary to the idealized portrayals of exotic escapades and treasure troves. Understanding the period and the circumstances that drove people to choose such a terrible way of life becomes much clearer with this reality check. Number 6. The inception and suppression of the Gregorian Calendar. In 1582, Pope Gregory the Sane instituted the Gregorian Calendar, which is still widely used today. In order to make the spring equinox more closely align with March 21st, when it occurred during the Council of Nicaea in 325, it was necessary to modify the Julian calendar. But not everyone was happy with the new calendar. Initially, the majority of countries that adopted the change were Catholic, whereas the Protestant and Orthodox countries were suspicious and thought the reform was a Catholic scheme. It wasn't until 1752 that the Gregorian calendar was adopted by Great Britain and its colonies, which included what would later be known as the United States. Number 7. The Misconception. About Napoleon Bonaparte's height. The famous French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte is commonly believed to have been very short, according to popular historical accounts. Nevertheless, this portrayal is mostly due to an apprehension. French feet are longer than English feet. Therefore, the reported height of 5 feet 2 inches for Napoleon at the time of his death may not be accurate. Napoleon stood at a little over 5 feet 7 inches, according to English standards, just above the norm for Frenchmen of his day. This false belief was further spread by British cartoons of Napoleon, who frequently used his diminutive size for comic effect. Despite its apparent insignificance, the widespread misunderstanding of Napoleon's stature highlights the pervasiveness of prejudice and error in small historical accounts. Number 8. The hidden heritage of Mount Rushmore. There is a lesser-known history to Mount Rushmore than only the enormous carvings of the 4 presidents of the United States. The land was holy to the Lakota Sioux Native Americans and was known as the 6 Grandfathers long before it became a symbol of American presidential history. The United States government officially acknowledged the Black Hills, including Mount Rushmore, as part of the Great Sioux Reservation in the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie. Unfortunately, the United States government failed to enforce the treaty conditions, and the finding of gold caused an inflow of settlers. The often overlooked tales of indigenous history, territorial rights, and national monuments are brought to light by the difficult subject of Mount Rushmore's development. Number 9. The original purpose of the Great Wall of China. Many people picture the Great Wall of China as a barrier that kept the Mongols and other invaders out of China. Having said that, defense was not its only initial function. During the time of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, circa 221 BC, the wall served as a means of regulating trade along the Silk Road. Import and export controls, as well as tariffs on goods, were implemented through the interconnection of the pre-existing barriers. Along the wall, there were customs stations and watchtowers that traders could pay taxes at. In historical contexts, the wall served a military purpose, but its function as a trade regulation instrument reveals the intricate relationship between security, economy, and state control. Number 10. The misunderstood role of Vikings. Despite popular belief, Vikings are not as simple as horned helmet-wearing savage northern raiders. The Vikings were not just raiders, but also merchants, explorers, and immigrants. Long before Columbus, during the Viking Age, around 800 to 1050 AD, there was extensive travel. The Vikings even made it to North America at this time. Additionally, when not trading or exploring, Viking communities farmed and fished, and their art was highly developed, according to archaeological finds. The romantic ideals of the 19th century gave rise to the horned helmets that people generally identify with Vikings. Based on what we know from archaeology, real Viking helmets did not have horns. As we journey through the lesser-known truths of history, we realize how our view of the past is often shaped by misconceptions, overstatements, or overlooked subtleties. This exploration urges us to scrutinize historical narratives, acknowledging their multifaceted nature. It underscores that history isn't a static set of facts, but a continually evolving narrative open to reinterpretation. Each new insight fuels our curiosity and openness to fresh viewpoints, enhancing our comprehension and respect for our shared past. If you found this content enlightening, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more intriguing insights. Thank you for watching.